The Philadelphia 76ers, Milwaukee Bucks, and the New York Knicks are all expected to pursue Chris Paul this offseason. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to talk about with you guys. Again, it's currently being reported that a wide variety of teams do have interest in trying to trade in, Chris Paul. We've heard a little bit of Lakers news recently too. I will most likely be making a bit of a separate video on that one, so definitely stay tuned for that. But as of this time being right now, the Philadelphia 76ers, Milwaukee Bucks, and the New York Knicks are all expected to pursue Chris Paul this offseason, and this is all being reported by Ian Begley. So I think this is a very interesting one. I feel like two of these teams do desperately need Chris Paul, and there is one team that I don't really feel like out of these three needs Chris Paul really that much, if not really at all. And that's the first team I'm actually going to start talking about, is the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, I know they kind of wanted to look at the experiment of maybe playing Ben Simmons as like a more power forward type of player, considering Ben Simmons, he can't really space the ball. He's not really known to be able to space the ball. I mean, again, he can't really shoot threes at all, even though he's pretty much promised to all of us, like every single season, by training videos, etc., that he will be developing his jump shot and starting to shoot threes. But after a couple questionable comments about him wanting to, start shooting threes once he thinks he's capable to make 40% per season, I don't think we're going to be really seeing him, again, getting into that three-point rhythm exceptionally well as of far. But I still feel like, having Chris Paul as the main, or having Ben Simmons as the main point guard of the team is still going to be the best way to go ahead with Ben Simmons. Now, that's not to say, though, that Chris Paul can't play off-ball. One of the really special things about Chris Paul's career so far that I feel like it's gone pretty undetected is his very, very good way of being able to play a lot of off-ball and being like that off-ball type of point guard. I mean, when he played with James Harden and the Houston Rockets, he played a lot of off-ball point guard, especially when James Harden had the ball and would, often isolate with it. And then, when he got to the Oklahoma City Thunder, he also played a lot of off-ball there, especially when Dennis Schroeder decided to isolate the ball quite a bit. And even sometimes when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of ran point, you definitely saw a lot of Chris Paul playing a lot of off-ball. So that's not to say that he couldn't go ahead and play off-ball with Ben Simmons. In fact, I think it would actually be pretty cool to maybe see, Ben Simmons play at that power forward, but still predominantly being the main, ball handler with Chris Paul playing, again, a very similar off-ball role that he's done, with the last two seasons. I just don't know if... I feel like Chris Paul's contract is a little bit too expensive, considering the 76ers are already in huge, contract issues. And even though they may be getting rid of Al Horford's contract, there's rumors they're going to try and move on Richardson and Tobias Harris as well. I just still don't know how I feel about them getting Chris Paul. I feel like they need to go out and get shooters. Players like Buddy Hield are definitely going to be available, and they could definitely try and make a big run to try and get Bradley Beal to the team. I feel like those three players should be their main, those shooters in Bradley Beal and Buddy Hield should be their main two focal players they should be going out to get. But again, Chris Paul, he isn't the worst one, but I feel like they don't need him as much as, a couple of certain other teams do potentially need him. That brings me up to the next one. Again, Knicks fans, I will be talking about him very soon. Don't worry, but I will be talking about the Bucks right now. I feel like this would be a great move if the Bucks could get Chris Paul, even though a lot of people have talked about how there could be a bit of a chemistry issue to do with Giannis and Chris Paul. I believe Giannis actually may have came out and said that he doesn't care about this. He's going to be professional about it. If he can get Chris Paul to the team, then that's going to be a second star to kind of help out with him. I think it would actually be great for them to go ahead and do this, because I feel like, when it came to the playoffs, it was so obvious to see that Giannis was... Again, it looked like he was playing without any stars on his team. Like, yes, I'm not trying to disrespect Chris Middleton at all here, but I think it's pretty hard to argue with this statement that I'm about to make, that Chris Middleton is arguably one of the best role players in the league, and that's what gets him into being in the All-Star team. It's a very similar case to what happened with Kevin Love and LeBron James. Look, Kevin Love may not be an All-Star at this part of his career, but he played his role that greatly with his number one superstar that he did it in a way where he looked better than other, stars in the league, so they gave him the all-star spot. And I feel like that's what is the case with Chris Middleton. I also feel like this is a case with a couple of other Bucks players, like for example, Eric Bledsoe. I feel like Eric Bledsoe, yes, he's a very good player, don't get me wrong on that, but I feel like, Giannis and how talented he is has kind of made these players look a tiny bit better than what they, actually are. So I feel like going out and getting a well-established star in Chris Paul would actually be a very, very good move. And they could definitely do it in a way where they could actually, win the trade. Like, I mean, it could be a W for both sides. If they offered up potentially, Eric Bledsoe, it would probably be a first-round pick and maybe just a player like DJ Wilson or something like that. That would be a great move for OKC and the Bucks, as the Bucks can get a way better player, a way better point guard, literally like double what Eric Bledsoe is. I feel like Chris Paul is. Not just that, they only have to do that and get rid of a pick. Yes, they take on a lot more money, but again, they can definitely go, over the salary by, quite a bit. A lot of teams have done that in the league, and the Bucks haven't really taken that next step to try and go over the salary quite a bit to, kind of establish a near super team. So I feel like, Chris Middleton, if he can continue to make the All-Star team, yes, in my opinion, he's just, again, a very good role player. I feel like, having those three players on the team, well, again, on paper, those are three All-Stars. So I feel like that could definitely be a team that could make the finals. Chris Paul, Giannis, and Chris Middleton with a nice supporting cast. So I feel like that would be a pretty good move. Not just that, it also makes a lot of sense for OKC on the terms that they can get in Eric Bledsoe, who can continue to, to build around SGA and get him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and get him, some very nice, talented players, while also rebuilding on the side. With all the picks that they have, their picks aren't going to be really good until a couple of years away, so why not, keep contending and making the playoffs and bringing in fan engagement, while also bringing some young players in on the side. Like, I mean, again, if they had Eric Bledsoe, SGA, they'd have a bit more cap, from losing Gallinari and Chris Paul, so they probably could go out and sign a couple decent players. They could still be a decent team that, makes the playoffs. I feel like that'd be a really good one to, build in fan interest, keep developing SGA, and it could, again, bring in a furthermore of, if they can be good in the next couple of years, more stars are going to want to go to OKC, again, or better role players, etc. So again, this is a win for OKC and a win for Milwaukee, so I definitely feel like this should and could potentially actually happen. Now, moving on to the New York Knicks, I actually feel like this team is the biggest must out of them all. I know, Knicks fans, 50% of them don't want Chris Paul. The other 50 may want Chris Paul. The other 50 do want Chris Paul, I guess. I feel like I'm definitely on the side of the 50% that I feel like they need Chris Paul. Look, I'm not a Knicks fan, but again, I've got a lot of Knicks fans a lot of friends that are Knicks fans, and they are all, again, on the opinion of the Knicks should go out and get Chris Paul, and I definitely am as well. And yes, again, the reason a lot of people are saying no is because they need to develop a young core, and that he's a big contract, and he's too old. But what I say to that is, it is nearly impossible to develop a young core without having a decent point guard on the team. You can't just expect players like RJ Barrett and Kevin Knox and, again, Mitchell Robinson to go out there consistently every single week with, again, their starting point guard being Elfrid Payton. Again, no disrespect to Elfrid Payton. I do like Elfrid Payton. I feel like he is a pretty underrated player in the league. I just feel like he's young as it is, and he would be better suited off playing like a six-man type of role. And I don't feel like he's really helping develop these younger players, because he is a young player, like, you know what I mean? He is a young player, so you can't expect him to develop young players. It's a hard thing. But Chris Paul, who's already proven that he can develop young players at OKC and can contend, like, look what he did with SGA. I definitely feel like he'd be able to do that with Mitchell Robinson and, again, RJ Barrett. Like, look what SGA, he was like 11 points. He starts playing with Chris Paul. He goes up to about 20 points per game. That's just the level Chris Paul is at in his career and his factor of developing in young players. RJ Barrett, I believe, averaged around 14 points per game. I could definitely see him going up to about 19 or so if he was to play with Chris Paul, and I could also see Mitchell Robinson's production definitely improving as well. Because, like, imagine the lobs that guy would start getting with better playmaking in Chris Paul. Plus, that moves Elfrid Payton to the bench. That adds a much, needed and nice playmaker off the bench. It just makes so much sense. Like, I mean, the Knicks haven't really had a good point guard for the last 10 years. I mean, they had Jeremy Lin for half a season. They had a little stint with Derrick Rose. And they also had, I guess, Raymond Felton. But other than that, come on. They haven't really had anything, and you can't just expect a young core to develop without a point guard, like a decent point guard on the team. And that's why I feel like, again, Chris Paul he would be a perfect player to partner up with this young core. Not only that, he does bring in, again, a more traction to bring in other players in the league. Like, there's rumors that Carmelo Anthony will be more attracted to join the New York Knicks if Chris Paul is on the team. Danilo Gallinari may join the Knicks if Paul's on the team. Oladipo or DeMar DeRozan may potentially go out and request a trade, or, again, sign in free agency or whatever. If they do get Chris Paul, again, Oladipo, I believe, has 1 year on his contract. DeMar has a player option, which I expect him to potentially decline. Because, yes, he may not get that money again. Like, I believe it's a $28 million deal. But he could get maybe a longer-term deal worth maybe $20 million or so on, like, a team like the Knicks. So, again, if they can get Chris Paul, the players will come. Not just will the players come, but they will improve their young core by heaps. Again, that's just how I see it. I feel like all three of these teams should definitely have a look at at Chris Paul. But I feel like Philadelphia will be the least most interested, I think, and the least, needing of Chris Paul. Well, I do feel like the Knicks and the Bucks, again, the Bucks are second most, and then the Knicks definitely, I feel like the most they should be interested in Chris Paul. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA content and NBA news. Of course, don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys think it was, it'd be a good idea for these three teams to potentially go out and target Chris Paul? Do you guys think they shouldn't? Again, I definitely really like to know all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/long channel. Definitely don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for them will all be in the description down below. But as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.